understand a little bit about what you said during the debate yesterday. I mean, in a sense, you welcome what you call the military operation by Russian Federation in the Ukraine. You're saying as anti-imperialist, anti-colonialist emancipation movement, you support this military action which is preventing the expansion of NATO into the east part of Russia. Now,
more than 100 people participated on Saturday in Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic, CAR, in support of Russia's offensive against Ukraine. The demonstrators gathered at the foot of a statue inaugurated in late 2021 by President Faustin Archange Touadéra, representing Russian fighters protecting a woman and her children.
Hello guys, welcome to the Africa with Philly. Thank you to those who keep coming back and watching my videos. Thank you to those who subscribed, and those who haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Help my my channel grow, and let's grow in this together, and let's talk about these critical topics that are frowned upon. Let's engage about this thing so we make sure that we understand each other's standpoints. So in today's video we will be talking about the war in Ukraine, like between Russia and Ukraine, South Africa, and a lot of Africans, I think, Black Americans, you know, like basically a lot of Black people, especially in Africa and America as well, in other places, support Russia.
What you talking about?
Here are the reasons why I think so. So for example, with Africa at large, I believe Africans support Russia because most of them say that Russia didn't colonize any African countries. So they feel like, well, why must we support the West? Why must we support like America and all these other countries if they colonized us and they made us go through all this evil? They just had this bad intentions and they just felt like they wanted to rule everyone, you know. So the first reason is because, Russia didn't colonize any African countries, and they actually helped quite a number of African countries, South Africa included, obviously.
We recognize a friend in suffering. When we were in crisis, it was Russia that came to our rescue to liberate the country. We saw France, which was there but did nothing, and France continues to bully us. We have to tell certain truths today. Russia is coming to liberate us. Now we are free, and we must support Russia at all costs until our last breath.
So another thing that I feel like Russia is supported, especially in South Africa, is because South Africa is part of the BRICS, which I think it's like an economic relationship of some sort, where it's like an economic relationship where they trade together. And so BRICS standing for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, obviously. So I feel like South Africa mainly supports China because of that as well. And another thing is because Russia also helped South Africa during apartheid. That's why they support it as well. So another thing that made other people, mainly Africans, I think, to start supporting Russia was when the double standard broke out again, and where the media was actually saying things.
It's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles. and his helicopters and his rockets.
And Poland and Hungary have offered food, shelter, and all necessary aid to Ukrainians fleeing war. Yet in Poland, only 2 months ago, security forces were accused of torturing refugees from Palestine, Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Meanwhile, in Hungary, these are the images of a fence constructed to stop refugees from entering their borders. That is, non-white ones, of course.
Now the unthinkable has happened to them. And this is not a developing third world nation. This is Europe.
Just to put it bluntly, these are not refugees from Syria. These are refugees from neighboring Ukraine. I mean, that, quite frankly, is part of it. These are Christians, they're white.
The crisis in Ukraine has also exposed the racist tendencies in the Western world. Thousands of students from Africa and Asia are left stranded at the Ukrainian border, but reports of alleged segregation and violence in the Polish-Ukraine border has caused tensions.
Yep, I think that created a lot of emotions and made more Africans to support Russia and not Ukraine. And another thing that I believe is part of the reasons why Africans support Russia and not Ukraine is that Ukraine obviously wants to join NATO, which is why Russia is fighting it. And NATO, we know, which consists of like the other European countries, including America, of which throughout history America has been involved in a lot of atrocities. It has been involved in a lot of wars, like being the instigator of a lot of wars, probably including that of Russia and Ukraine. It's believed to have been a catalyst in the war as well.
Now, I don't think it's just about the political ideology. It's mostly about what have been practical observations of the roles that have been played by the member countries of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, in the world history. So if you check the core of NATO is the UK, is France, and we know their history in the colonization of the African continent. It's the United States of America, which after the Second World War ignored like the efforts of trying to build world peace and initiated, of course, together with these European colonizers, a war alliance. NATO is basically a war alliance which has proven over time that it can intervene in countries for narrow and selfish purposes. Sometimes they can even create fictional reasons to invade countries because they want to loot and pillage the resources of those particular countries. Remember?
So another thing that I believe, and like based on what other like people have been commenting about why Africans support Russia, basically is because they believe that everyone needs to support their protect their territory, and they believe that's what Russia is doing, and that by Ukraine joining NATO, it's actually jeopardizing its integrity or its security. So they support Russia for that, and they believe they would have stood up against them as well if they put a threat to their safety. So yeah, I'll definitely put a part 2 of this video as to why Africans support Russia and not Ukraine.